I think we can go ahead and bring on Coach Zolman now, who's waiting for us. He just joined us in, and we'll bring him in now. Coach, first of all, congrats on a big win Friday night against Snyder. What an emotional game, an emotional victory for your team, and really an opportunity to get back on the winning track. Just talk about the resiliency of your group and what they were able to accomplish on Friday night.
Well, I think they played hard for about 3 out of 4 quarters because that first quarter they came out and it felt like we were sleepwalking. It was kind of strange, and you look up and we're down 14 and had given the ball back, and it didn't look good. And I think our offense sparked us with a nice drive and got us back into the game there. And down 7 is a lot different than down 14 without the ball. So I think that kind of woke us up a little bit. Honestly, when we watched film, the effort level that first quarter was kind of shocking to us all. We didn't start very well, and so that's part of the problem. To begin,
I sensed that in the broadcast that I just kind of said they just don't. Their body language wasn't good. Yeah. It was just one of those things that you just kind of notice that you're accustomed to seeing how your kids normally play. The body language that after those first 2 scores, I was like, wow, this could be ugly, to be quite honest. Yeah. But the resiliency that the kids showed, I mean, it was quite a thing to watch. I mean, because they could have folded their tents. Mm-hmm. I mean, the honest question there, down 14, they could have folded their tents. And I think in some respects, Snyder just kind of got back on their heels then, because it is almost like, oh, we got them right where we want them.
Right.
And at that point, talk about Michael White's play at this point in time. As a true sophomore, I know that he's gotten dinged up the last couple games, and, I'm not sure if it's anything that's going to keep him out this week, but just kind of talk about his growth as a quarterback.
Well, if you look back at the beginning of the summer until now, you could watch film, you'd be shocked at the difference of how he's playing. And he handles the situation now better than he's ever has. And that's part of it. As a young quarterback, you've got to make sure that you can, in these fire situations like he was in these last couple of weeks, it's you got to be able to handle it, good and bad. And what we have seen maturity-wise has been the difference. I think if you look at some of the early games, he was a little hesitant on some things, and now he's making decisions quick. He's putting the ball in the right spot. He's delivering the ball to the right person. All the things that you want a quarterback to start doing, he's doing. And he had limited practices last week just because he was healing up a little bit. And but that, I think his performance was fantastic Friday night.
Well, no, he made some throws that I just kind of like, wow. I mean, he made a throw, I think, from the opposite hash to the opposite boundary on a dart, and I just thought, wow, I don't even know how he saw that receiver because he had a lot of traffic, but he just made some throws that, for a sophomore at least, he's progressed nicely, I guess you would say, in his growth and his game and things of that nature.
Yep.
I figured, you guys got to be feeling pretty confident now that you can, put some, give him the chance to make the plays without, guarding against him, doing something stupid.
Yeah.
So,
when you're young, a lot of decision-making, and it seems to slows down a little bit. And, but as he's in games, this will be game 7 this week. So
right.
He's had all this opportunity to grow. And I think the things that you need to see, he's seeing quicker, and everything's, they say the game slows down. I think your decision-making speeds up is what really happens. And I think that's what you're seeing with Michael, and he's got some physical tools to be special. And so, and Coach Scout does a good job of developing those and requiring a lot of them and making sure that they're mentally where they need to be each week.
Coach Chad Zolman joining us here upon further review tonight. Coach, the season so far, you guys start 0-2. those tough losses, Carmel and then Noblesville, and then you jump into SAC play, and it kind of takes off from there, and all of that. That time for you, people make a lot about the schedule of the new SAC and the out of conference games and the grind that you guys went through. What did that do for your team to play a team like Carmel and Noblesville as you got ready for SAC play?
Well, when you see those teams from Indy, I think some of the things that you see a lot of talent, but at the same time, you see a lot of size. And you see big kids up front. Carmel looked like a college offensive line. And, when you see that and you go battle well against those types of things, it benefits you well. And so I think it helps their confidence a little bit. Come away with 2 losses, it's never what you want or,
right.
what we're fighting for. I thought we played well game 1, and then with this young group, we played pretty poorly the second game, and they would agree. And if you watch film, it's like we were night and day difference in execution and of our game plan. And so one of the things I think that we took out of that, and that we've progressively gotten a little bit better each week, is just doing your job, and making sure that you're executing your job to the best of your ability on every play, and that's what we're trying to get these kids to do. And I think we've progressively gotten better and better at that. And we still are not perfect execution wise. And I think, last week against Dwenger, we were 3 or 4 plays away from executing a little bit better. Maybe the outcome's a little better, and we're also 3 or 4 plays Friday night that we don't execute, and we're sitting here at 2 and 4, and so I think they're starting to understand the importance of every play and how hard they have to play on a Friday night to win. It's not easy to win. It's not easy to win in Indy. It's not easy to win here in the SAC. So I think that's part of it. And we've got a young squad generally, and I think they're learning that how the amount of effort and study and dedication each week it takes to be successful. I think that's one of the great lessons we learned.
Let's talk a little bit about your offensive line, because I know in the past that you may have not had the most physical or the biggest offensive line around, but it seems to me that your offensive line play's gotten better, especially Friday night. I thought they played the best that I had seen them play in a number of years. They were really sustaining the line of scrimmage for the most part, kept the pocket clean. And then of course, Fox made them right. As running backs have to make offensive linemen right. It's not as easy as just running the ball and expecting the lineman to blow everybody off the ball every time. But I thought he did a good job of making them right Friday.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned them, because I think they're the O-line and D-line are probably the strength of our team, and especially that offensive line. I think when we get a hat on a hat, we feel pretty good about our kids' ability to block, and I think Friday night they did that really well. And as you said, backs have to make them. You can't be dancing in the backfield, one cut and go, and Brett is a fantastic ability to do that, and so he does make his linemen look good. But up front, they put a ton of work in. And Coach Davis, our offensive line coach, does a great job prepping them every week and making sure their assignment's sound, and making sure that their technique's proper, and that he spends a lot of time on assignments and making sure that everything is sound that way. So all that paid off, and we've got some good physical, strong kids there. I mean, we've got, and that's probably the most senior dominant position group that we have. And so when you get seniors who are leading an offensive line, that makes a big difference. You got
Absolutely.
big kids who make good decisions, and when that happens up front, you're in good shape.
Sure. One of those seniors behind the offensive line, Brett Fox, just talk about his growth, coming in and kind of really Friday night, kind of taking the game on his shoulders, the team on his shoulders, and really grinding out that victory. Talk about his growth, Coach, and what he's been able to do, and really how he's kind of made everybody around him better and continues to do so.
Well, he started for 3 years for us now, and he's been making plays for 3 years. And he dedicated himself in the weight room. And it's part of the reason I think he's obviously a lot of the reason he's so successful and so tough. I mean, he's had 28 carries and 27 carries the last two games against really good opponents, and that's a lot of carries, a lot of contact, and he's just durable. Now he got nicked up a little bit at Dwinger and had limited practices last week, but as the practices progressed through the week, he got better and better. And Friday night he was feeling 100%, and he's just a tough kid. He has the ability, and we as coaches we talk about this. Good backs don't make when they come to make a cut. It's not a large cut. It's not a hard right or a hard left. It's a slight left or a slight right, and he moves his hips. And when he does that, he has the ability to take away angles, and he knows how to. Just that there's some natural ability there for running backs that he has, and his ability to go from 0 to 60 fairly quickly is impressive too. Because when he finds a spot, he'll squeeze through it and he'll get through there in a hurry. So he's fun for us to watch in practice and in games. And yeah, he's carried us obviously, and we feel like if we can run the ball on you and be successful doing that, we're going to ride that horse, and he loves it.
Well, he's so dynamic, and just like you said, the one thing that he does the best that I think is when you talked about his cutting there for a second, his cuts are, like you said, a pressure step and vertical. He's not, cross fielding it or anything like that. He's getting vertical as fast as he could. Matter of fact, he almost overran the hole in the overtime that he ended up getting in on because he really pressured it too far right and almost missed the cut. Almost missed that cut that, a pretty big hole there. But, talk about that overtime period. And let's expand this a little bit. Your relationship with Kurt Tittman. I kind of saw, both of you are out for the overtime toss. And, I think at the end you go with both kind of high-fived each other, and I kind of sense that there's a mutual respect and friendship there that goes beyond the field.
Yeah, I count him as a good friend, and we respect each other's programs. We scrimmage them every summer, at the beginning of the season, and we do that because we know we'll get a quality opponent who's going to play hard and expose our weaknesses, but at the same time, it won't get ugly ever because he makes sure his kids are playing the right way, and we try to do the same thing. And so there's a mutual. Yeah, you're right. When we went out for that overtime, we talked a little bit, and then he said, "Let's go," and gave me a high five, and then it was pretty fun.
Well, he's a class act, and as are you. The programs that you both run, top notch. Your kids are respected. Respect the game of football and the way they play it, as does your staffs. And it's good to see that camaraderie in a game that is a physical game. I mean, you don't let things spill out beyond the white lines. That's the way I always, coach. In between the white lines, everybody's trying to beat everybody. That's the game of football. Outside of it, you want to make sure that everything stays inside those lines. And I think that's one good thing that I see with a lot of coaching in the Summit City is the respect for each team that's on display on Friday nights.
Yep. And there's emotion in football, and kids get hot, and you got to reel them in a little bit. But you're right. There's a line that you don't cross, and that and we try to make sure our kids know that where that line is. And you're right to respect the game for what it is. It's a fantastic game. If it's played right, it was like Friday night. We feel like that was a hard-fought, physical football game that was enjoyable and through 4 quarters plus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Coach. Another big one. Now you move on to next Friday with Carroll. You guys make the trip up north to Carroll. SAC implications on the line again with everybody in that North Division now sitting at 3-1, except for Northrop. Certainly some implications on the line where these matchups within the division, even though it's an overall record, really carry a lot of weight, and that's where we are at Week 7. Now turning the page, going from Snyder to Carroll, just what that looks like for you now and what you have in front of you coming up this week?
Well, it doesn't get any easier, right? This is a really good football team that we're looking at and studying. In fact, we're at a staff meeting tonight and talking about them. And the implications, every game that you win, the next one becomes a little bit bigger and more important. So that's where we're at. And I think that when you look at this matchup, it's going to be a tough one. I mean, they've got talent everywhere on offense and on defense, and they're well coached and disciplined, and special teams are solid. They've got a good kicker. They're a very good football team. So for us to be successful, I mean, we've got to play really, really well and play really, really hard for 4 quarters, I think, and try to come out a little faster than we did last week.
Yeah, in playing there is always a tough thing too, just because everybody, home field advantage and all, and they have great support like Homestead does on Friday nights, and it's going to be another good football game, I believe. And I think one thing that's got the talk of the town maybe and has since the beginning of the season is the 2 divisions, that we've kind of labeled Division A and Division B. And, Bishop Lures, here's a team that started 0-3, and most years they would have been thought of, well, they're just playing now to get themselves ready for the sectionals, so to speak. Well, in theory, they essentially control their own destiny moving out, because they got the Battle of the Bishops, of course. That's a big rivalry game. And then I think they play Southside. And then, of course, you guys going in that last week could be potentially for all the marbles, I guess. Explain, what's your thoughts on this setup with the 2 divisions? And you take a Lures team now that ultimately, if they win out, they essentially become the SAC championships, but they haven't played or will not play Snyder or Carroll this year.
That's a good question. I
didn't mean to put you on the spot.
we've got to figure that out and evaluate and see if it's the proper way to do it, and to make sure that it's all fair and in all aspects. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out.
I know you coaches don't think about that stuff right now. I mean,
trying to figure out how to beat Carroll right now.
You're figuring out how to get a first down against Carroll. I respect that. So that question probably is a little bit unfair, but being that I'm on the other side of the fence now, I guess it has to be asked in some respects. But yeah, I think that's the question when it all comes down to it. I personally kind of like the divisions. I really do, in the sense that it does create some equality in the divisions. Again, what may or may not happen in 3 or 4 weeks is really no sense of talking about it till you get there. But it's just an interesting dynamic that I kind of wanted to get your take on it, since really nobody's really talked about it. It was just kind of put out there that this is the way it was going to be. And I think we've had different versions of what counts, what doesn't count. And then on top of that, how do you figure out who's the SAC champ? And, that's kind of the reason why I think it's been a topic of discussion here of late.
Yeah. To be honest, I hadn't thought about it personally, how this is all going to plan out until we got in the middle of it and thinking, okay, with all these different scenarios, how could it play out? And I think it would probably be good for us once this is played out for this year, and reevaluate it and see the best way to determine a champion from here on out. But I don't know. I mean, maybe we're out just fine and everybody's going to agree they should be a champ, or whoever it is a champ, and it won't be a problem. But I think a little more structure and clarity on the process, I think, is probably needed for the future, because we hadn't thought about it much until we started the season, right? So
whose idea was it to go into this 2 divisional setup? Was that coach's input, or was that more of the ADs? This is what we need to do, or how was that all constructed?
The coaches pushed it. And the main reason, honestly, was to get 2 out of conference games if we could. And that was the push. And there's a number of reasons. One of them is it's always been nice to have. And when we were in that HC, we had 2 out of conference to begin the season, and it was
Right.
nice because you could kind of gauge how you play against other teams in different regions and things like that. And it helped. Not that the Sagarin ratings you get some input on, but how they play, and it kind of, if you're not playing someone out of conference, it can, it kind of hurts you a little bit there too. And then we thought, there is a difference in school sizes and school roster sizes and
Absolutely
things like that. And for fairness, it might be beneficial to do something like this. And so we all came to a mutual agreement that we thought would be a good idea. And then we took it to the ADs and they voted on it and thought it would be good too.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's understood. And the standpoint is, you got teams from 6A to 2A, I guess you could say, and there's a difference between those type of programs. Yeah. It has benefited the Dwangers and the Lures and the Concordias over the years because they play stiff competition and then they get into the tournament and they're battle tested, for the most part by playing the better team. So it was just a question that I think we've pondered, especially Dude and I over the last couple of weeks and heard different, I guess, scenarios. I always thought, man, give up one of the non-conference games, play your, 9 games or so, or whatever it is, 8 or so. And then at the end of that, you could play 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4, 5 versus 6. And you have kind of a semi-championship game that's played, with some, I guess, stuff on the line, maybe.
Yeah.
That was discussed. That scenario was discussed at one point. And there was some, I can't recall how the meetings went, but there was some discussion and we decided not to do that. But and I think it was mainly for stability of having 2 non-conference, if you want to,
right.
If you want 2 out of conference games, then, we had to do something different. But
I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in there.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's been interesting. And I think the point is it's a new thing. I think there certainly will be evaluation at season's end to see kind of how it works. But I think by and large, like we said, we're at week 7 and there's still a lot of teams that have a lot to play for that they're not sitting around until sectionals to play ahead. And obviously the big one this week for us on 1380 will be Homestead at Carroll, and our 1380 game of the week will be out at Carroll for that game. And Coach, I know that's a big one for you, and a lot of prep this week and getting ready for that. And you guys can still have a say in what happens in the SAC race just by continuing to play well. And so we thank you so much for coming on this week, Coach Chad Zolman, the head coach of the Homestead Spartans. Best of luck on Friday night, and we'll see you later on in the season.
All right. Appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for what you do for high school football. We appreciate it.
All right, Coach. Have a good one.
Thanks so much.